We're
I should
starting.
tell people we're starting the show. Hey, everybody. Welcome to tonight's late night happy hour here on ESPN Los Angeles. I lost track of the time. But with us tonight, Brian Kamenetzky, Andy Kamenetzky, and Victoria Jacobi in the center rectangle. She's working on her Wi-Fi. We're trying to get a better connection. She's, I think, smiling at you. I think she's waving at you. But we will use this time while we're figuring all these things out to let you know the Tonight Show, as all these shows are, brought to you by vsliquor.com, the easiest way to get liquor delivered right to your door. We're in the middle of a pandemic, people. The pandemic's still going on, and you're going to want to have that liquor delivered to you. That's not why you want to leave the house. Victoria, can you hear us?
It's a responsible way to get your
Yes.
liquor. It's the equivalent of, not using your excused absence from the bubble to go inside Magic City for your liquor. You would have Magic City deliver the liquor, or in this case, VS Liquor, deliver
Right.
it to you.
Or your lemon pepper flats.
Right, exactly. You would have Magic City take the wings to you as opposed to going there. But like we're saying, in this particular case, have VS Liquor deliver it to you. And for your first order, type in sports with the checkout, 15% off, vsliquor.com.
All right. So did you hear that whole thing, Victoria? Are you able to hear us and communicate and all that stuff? Oh, we can't hear you.
Deliver the liquor, or in this case, VS Liquor,
Right.
deliver it to you.
I hate when this happens. Nope.
Telling you, this is all the fault of the earbuds. I blame the wireless buds that we knew always cause us problems. We always warn guests
And
against using
and
wireless.
and she said to me, it's like, look, I've got great Wi-Fi. She didn't say she has good Wi-Fi. She said I have great Wi-Fi. Those were her words. Her
Right.
words, not
Hopefully,
mine.
Victoria is coming back. She's
Right.
going to sign out and come right back in, as opposed to we managed to offend her in 2 minutes of the show.
Right, which is possible. That is not wouldn't be the
No, it's
first time.
it's absolutely doable. There's no question we are capable of doing that. But I think she's going to be coming back. I
I
feel
think she
very
tried.
confident.
Okay, here she is.
Can you
Oh,
guys hear me
good.
now?
Yes.
Yes!
Yes.
Yes!
This is
Back.
very exciting. Okay.
There we go.
Because
There we go.
I don't call my Wi-Fi anything better than adequate. I have adequate Wi-Fi. That's
Yeah,
this
never
as
say
much as
that
I'll do.
again.
Okay.
Never ever, guys.
So Victoria Jacobi. Now this is one of my favorite things, and one of the reasons we wanted to have you on is because you are one of the most interesting and unique people around in and around the NBA. I was like, so what do we call you when you come on for people who don't know you? And
You
you
know, it's really
said
fun.
an NBA dot
Really
connector.
funny.
So what does that
Yeah,
mean?
not an NBA dot connector, just a dot connector in general, I would say, just because, I've been involved in so many different things, and I don't work for any one person in particular. I've worked with a lot of big names, and whether it's on the brand and agency side or the player side with talent, it's just been a lot of different experiences, and I think I've built such a vast network where, dots connect. So I guess that's the easiest thing. Someone once said that to me. They said I'm kind of like the dot connector in the league, especially like out of New York. So it's fun. It's fun to have a foot in every industry, whether it's fashion or nightlife or basketball, and then be able to bring that all together. Like I said, whether it's for a talent or for a project I'm doing with a brand or whatever it might be.
That's what I was going to say. Like, specifically, when you say you look to connect these type of dots, like what are you typically seeking out, and how do you sort of pair up the dots? Like, what in your mind are dots that are in need of connection?
So, I think the last couple of years especially, we're seeing athletes, NBA players, really getting into so many different things off the court. They have so many interests. They are trying to build up their own personal brands to a level that we've never really seen before, other than Jordan. And I think it's so interesting because there's so many things available to them, but a lot of the younger guys especially don't really know what the resources are, and they want to explore certain things. So I'm here to be that person,
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, whether it's I'll give you an example. Kelly Oubre being in town, and I have contact with Dior. Like I had a contact with Dior in February, and he got to see their new collaboration with Daniel Arsham, who inspired the new Dior collection completely, and he got to see it first.
So,
Just things like that. Whether it's my boy Aaron Gordon's into music now, so if I can facilitate something with that and help with that, it's always whatever I can bring to the table that's going to make their lives easier or put them on in a certain space that they've never really explored before. That's what I'm here for.
All right. So there are a bunch of things that we want to get into over the course of the hour, stuff like this. We want to talk a little bit, obviously a lot of Lakers because you are a big Lakers fan. We will definitely get into that. You got a podcast that you're getting out that we want to talk about. But the thing that I think is really cool is like we've spent, how much, Andy, has bubble media time been taken up just talking about JaVale McGee's vlogs and Russell Westbrook's fashion and whether or not he gets to bring it.
No.
All this stuff. Hold on a second. We'll get back to JaVale here in a second.
That's not what I was going to say.
But what makes NBA players so sort of open to this stuff? Why are they so fashion forward? Why are they interested in meeting up with somebody from Dior or music or all these other things?
They've always been. I think, now it's just manifesting itself, right? And you can really see it more. But, 3 years ago, Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, Jimmy Butler pulled up to Paris Men's Fashion Week in the summer. And they were sitting front row at Valentino. Like, that doesn't happen every day. You know what I mean? It's just breaking ground within all these different things. Guys are launching media companies. Now, you didn't really have that 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, Twitter Sports is doing partnerships that we've never seen before. Shout out to my boy TJ out there, really doing his thing. And you mentioned JaVale's vlogs. Like, everyone wants to see what the Lakers are up to. And, my boy Devin is doing a really good job with that. He's handling all the videos for JaVale, and he used to do that for the Warriors. And now he went from the team aspect of it, and now he's doing that for an athlete. He's doing that for a player. So I think it's also for people like us in the industry, you maybe had one or two people like us doing these things. Now there's a lot more characters and individuals that don't necessarily want to be tied down to one thing and can kind of explore and help these guys achieve what they want to do in different ways. Go ahead.
I was going to say, what I find really interesting, just not to interrupt you, but just the idea of how much opportunity there is for NBA players, kind of regardless of status. One of the early bubble stars was Myers Leonard, and no disrespect to Myles Leonard, but he's not a household name. Right. These are not guys who.
Excuse me. Please respect my really good friend Matisse.
I'm not. Sure. No, but I'm just saying. But he is not a household name. You got to know the NBA.
He's a really good player. I don't think it's impossible that
but
he could become
one. But he's a rookie.
one.
He's not very well known yet.
Right.
Exactly.
He's doing something that's.
He's a defense first rookie.
Yeah.
Myers Leonard is, he's a solid NBA player, but he plays for a smaller market team, or he spent a lot of time in Portland, then he's down in Miami, but he hasn't gotten a ton of attention. And then just for something like shotgunning beers, all of a sudden he's become a star. And I think it speaks to what you were saying, Victoria, just the opportunity that really is there for these guys to show off their personalities and their quirks and everything about them, and the interest in learning about those quirks and the personalities.
Yeah, with Tease, I met Tease right before the season started last summer, and he's a very, I wouldn't say antisocial, but he doesn't really love social settings. He's not like a Ben Simmons, for example. Ben likes doing those things. Matisse is more I just want to be home and be on my camera. So okay, what do we do with that now? vlog he's doing is all him. I had nothing to do with it. I'm just supporting it. But, you know, it's just really, you know, before I also start working with players, like I'll have somebody on their team hit me up or the player hit me up. And I always say, like, I have to get to know you, because there's a very fine line. There's a disconnect sometimes with how bigger companies run things, because there's not that individuality, right, that shines through. And I feel like some things get lost in the way where, you know, it's just kind of like, this is textbook. This is how we do things, and this is how they do them. And then there isn't really someone that's trying to really get to know the player and what they're about. And sometimes it's really frustrating for the athletes. And I hear about those things. Obviously I can't talk about them in detail, but you know, you hear about those things and you really see that these guys, like, oh, they see, you know, I'll give you a big example, LeBron doing Uninterrupted and doing all these different things. And they're like, why can't we, like, we want to do that. We want to have a movie. We want to do a documentary. Who do we pitch it to? Okay, let me set up a meeting with, whether it's Uninterrupted or Slam, or, you know, it's really nice for me to have the friends that I have in this industry and the contacts where I can just hit somebody up and be like, hey, this player wants to do this. Can I bring him in? You know, Bleacher Report, whatever. Like, I know I'm so lucky to know so many amazing people in these spaces where, you know, if I have a talent that's coming in and trying to do something, like there's guys that are really big, like my boy Miles Turner. Like, Miles wanted to go shopping, and he was like, I need jeans. There's no jeans out there that fit me. So, you know, I hit up my friends at Kith and my friends at
Wait, out in Indiana or out in Orlando that he couldn't find jeans?
He was here. He was like, Vic, I'm coming to New York. When guys come to New York, some guys hit me up and they're like, we want to go shopping. Where should we go?
Oh, no. I meant, where could he not find the jeans? Could he not find them in Orlando?
In Indiana.
Okay, I wasn't sure when he was jean shopping.
General, just in New York, too. Like, these guys, the sizes are so big that sometimes they don't know, like, stores don't carry those sizes. You know what I mean? So it's sometimes you gotta go custom. His shoe sizes are like 17, 18. You know, Kat was like, my size. When Kat told me his size, I was like, what like, how do you, you know, like, you got to go Shaq almost, and you got to get everything custom. It's ridiculous. But, you know, these are sometimes the things that people don't think about, you know, because everyone thinks, oh, they have money, they know what they're doing. But sometimes it's like little things like this where I'll just be like, I got you. Like, I'll help you out with that.
I have trouble also finding jeans that fit me, but for entirely different reasons.
Listen, I know people, so
yeah, but you get to know guys in ways that I think, like the Lou Williams chicken wing thing is.
Oh, man. I don't know Lou like that.
No, I don't mean no. I mean, Lou's his own dude. Like, there's no question. Like, Lou occupies his own space in the universe, and there's no question.
Lou has the art of being Lou Williams wired. Like, he is his own category of person in the NBA.
But like what I was getting at though is, like, you know, when Lou Williams goes to Magic City and is photographed there and says, I was there to get wings. Like, I think one of the things, you know, beyond all the memes, which apparently Lou even finds funny, what we're finding is that, like, there's this whole, like, subculture and different cultures in different cities and different things that, like, we didn't know about. Like, oh yeah, you know, look it up, man. The food at Magic City is really good. Like, people go there for the food.
It's a known thing. Listen,
yes.
I don't really frequent strip clubs.
No judgment.
But, you know, there's one in Miami. It's called 11. It's not really your typical Atlanta strip club. It's more of like, the dancers are more like acrobatic vibe. But, you know, they're open 24 hours. And on occasion, I've found myself there at 5 or 6 a.m. getting chicken fingers. Chicken fingers are amazing. Probably best I ever had. So, you know, it really just, like, I get it. I get what Lou is saying. I think, you know, there's other places to get food, and that's why people were like, did you really have to go there?
Sure, or have it delivered.
You know?
Really, Lou could have just solved this whole problem by having it catered and sent to his home. I mean, like, the problem is, A, going in there, the optics of going in there when you're on an excused absence from the bubble, and then B, I guess, trusting Jack Harlow not to blow you up. I mean, I don't, and
Right, that's another thing. Like, you can't just post the players on. Like, that's something I've learned too. Because when you start in this industry, like, you get excited every time you're around talent, and you're like, "Yo, we're doing this. We're working on this." I've learned that you got to stay quiet until
Mm-hmm.
a project is done or something is done, or
the
well, you
project in
can't
this case
post
was
anything,
wings.
right? Like, there's a very fine line with that, and I think like, I'm in my 20s. Like, I've learned that in the last couple of years, like, really getting into it. And everyone finds their space, but you wouldn't expect Jack to know or understand.
Well, but you see, like that in this particular case, I was actually talking about this with LZ Granderson on the morning show for 710. The
Yeah.
Who
blame
vouched for the
actually,
Magic City Wings?
he did vouch for the Magic City Wings. He said,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I guess he's lived
A
in
lot of
Atlanta
people
for a
from
little.
Atlanta, from Georgia did. So did
Yeah, oh,
Taylor.
no, I mean, Bomani Jones, I've seen him talk about on Twitter. Like, I mean, apparently, like, Brian and I both went through a menu at Magic City. Like, it looks legit. And I got to say,
the wings are named for him.
yeah, Lou
So,
Williams
like, I mean, come
has
on.
Lou Will lemon
That's
pepper
a
wing.
legendary. Come on, like
But
that's
like, by the way, too, just a pro tip for the people who may decide to go in there because Lou Williams has helped popularize this: the bottle service is where they get you. Like the prices there are actually, I think, fairly reasonable. Even the liquor, till you get to the bottle service, some of these bottles are outrageous. But anyway, though, like,
wait till we get to New York.
actually, I think these are pretty. I mean, I know they're not going to be quite L.A. or New York, but they're pretty expensive. Like, the bottle of Don Julio 1492, I think was like $800, something like that, $600. I mean, that's
1942 is about the same here. Around the same
It's a much better idea to have your liquor delivered to you by vsliquor.com and avoid all of those high-end bottle service prices.
I think also, like, going somewhere like that, it's about the vibe of it, right? And I think
yes.
all the boys missed it. I just don't even know why it's open right now. Like, it's pretty bad outside.
Well, apparently it's. I mean, well, first of all, the rules in Georgia, without going too far down a political road. Yeah, well, the governor in Georgia seems very determined to have no rules whatsoever in this state as it keeps spiking. But apparently, there are no entertainers currently inside Magic City. It's literally just food right now, or at least
chicken wings.
Right. Well, full menu. Let's not sell it short. But like, really, getting back to what we were talking about, Victoria, and like, rookies versus
Guys,
veterans.
Just call me Vic. Vic is so much easier. I feel
Okay,
Victoria's
Vic.
a mouthful. Like, you really
Vic
got,
it is.
You really got to get it out.
Vic it is. But really, Lou should have recognized the minute Jack Harlow took that photo. Like, no, delete that now. Delete that right now. You are not. I don't even want that on your camera. I don't want that on your phone. Delete it now. Because he's the veteran in his 30s. Jack Harlow has no idea what he's doing.
Apparently, Lou doesn't either.
Well, no, I think Lou.
I do respect that he was wearing his mask, though. Like, that's the great thing about it.
As a Laker fan, I'm loving all of this because the whole talk about the Hollywood team. They're just LeBron just wants to make movies. They're Hollywood. They're this.
Oh
that.
God, I gotta be honest. I mean,
we got our shit together, and the Clippers are out here going at it with Kendrick Perkins on social media.
I gotta say, I really respect the Clippers organization. I know some people inside of it. I'm sure you do as well. It's really well run. Like, they've put together obviously a very good team. This, like, Hollywood versus, like, up, just grit and grind, like, build it from the ground. Oh, go bleep yourself. Like that. I mean, you got Paul George. That way you leverage for Kawhi. It's like, it's a star team built exactly the same way as the Lakers.
Right.
No,
they're just they're the underdog. They got selfies instead of banners. So that's what it comes down to. That's where the hate stems from, But I think, again, I have no ill will obviously towards anyone in that organization. It's just fun banter, but it's really funny to kind of see that unfolding, especially after we got all this shit. Like, every time, like, imagine if this was LeBron, if Dion Waiters went out to get, Wings
Oh
and
God,
Magic
if it
City.
was
Like this
Dion, it
would
would be
be,
over. It would be
yeah. I mean,
over.
listen, Lou got a lot of shit too, but if this was Dion, it would be a whole like
Real
Skinner would
quick,
probably talk about
technically
it for
speaking, Vic, we're
days.
not
We'd
supposed
have
to
to.
curse. Just as a heads up, we probably should have
Oh,
told you
sorry.
that before. We're just going
It's
to
our
pretend.
fault. It's our
We're just
fault.
going to right. We're going to pretend like it didn't happen.
We were too busy trying to figure out the whole wireless situation.
Right. So what are we going to do? Lose our jobs? I mean, come
I'm
on.
so sorry. I'm so sorry.
But like,
Um,
it's. Are you a Lakers fan that? Because people are like our friend Clinton Yates makes this point all the time. Nobody talks about the Clippers more than Lakers fans. Like nobody. Clippers fans don't talk about the Clippers more than Lakers fans. Are you a Lakers fan that sort of respects them and can like let them have their success, acknowledge what they are, or do you have to kind of pull rank on them?
I listen. I think the whole Paul George thing kind of messed us up a little bit because we expected him to do the right thing, by us and by our God and Savior Kobe Bryant. The way he just. I mean, I've met Paul on occasion, and he's been so well spoken and so nice, and he's such a good guy, and I wish him nothing but the best with the Clippers.
Right,
I
but he
just
did the
think
wrong
that,
thing. You're right.
we expected one thing, and the outcome was different, so I think we ran with that for a little bit. But
Twice.
I think it's mutual, right? But I think it's a mutual thing where Clippers and Laker fans go at it. I think Laker haters talk about the Lakers more than we do, and that's not just Clipper fans; it's all over. But the Clippers are a good team, so the talk and the hate and the that kind of stuff is going to be there. There's nothing that we can do about it. I personally, other than Patrick Beverly, I don't really care to talk smack about anyone. You know what I mean?
Good job. Good job.
Stop myself.
Good work there, Vic.
I don't. Yeah, but there's something about Pat that really pisses me off, and
You can say.
I go off on that. Thank you.
Well, when he says, when he's asked after a game, what are the challenges about, having to you end up matched up with LeBron? What are the challenges with that? No challenge. Shut up. It's LeBron James. You can shut up.
Show some respect. You know what I mean? And it's just like Russell Westbrook said, and I love Russ. Russ is one of my favorite players. So they don't have a good relationship, Pat and Russ. And yeah,
I hadn't picked up on that.
Yeah, it's very evident. But it's funny because every time they ask Russ about it, Russ says something that's so wildly, just awesomely inappropriate. He just doesn't even acknowledge him. So I really enjoy that personally. I think that's enough for Pat Bev slander. Like I don't even have to do anything. Russ just does it for us.
Can you
go with that?
Can you I think Russ to me is one of the, and I've had very few interactions with him over the course of my career. Yeah, I mean, and it's hard. Like if you don't know him, it's just like a guy you just sort of waltz up to and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" Now,
you can't do that with Russ.
No, not well. But like
Russ will literally look at you like,
and it's scary. It's legitimately frightening.
Scary, yes, it's scary, and he's very intense. Like at all times, he came here in the summer. You guys know I hang out at Black Ops Basketball, Melo's gym out here at Sky, and I've been there since day one, since Hoodie Mello 3 years ago. And Russ stops by a few times, and he's here. Usually the guys come in for Fashion Week, right? So it's the final week of August going into the first week of September. And, if somebody's late or there's not enough guys to play, like Russ will get in your, like Russ will be like, yo, I got things to do. I got a family now. He's very intense at all times. And I'm like, yo, it's summertime, Russ. I don't know. But I love that about him. And I think he's he's great. He's great. Listen, I brought my 10-year-old brother. He's a big NBA fan. Obviously, I got him into all of that, and he plays ball, and Russ was so sweet to him. So,
and that's,
again, such a nice
that's
guy.
kind of what it's one of the questions I was sort of asking before is like he is a person who presents a certain image. Like on the court, there are a few guys who are more fun to watch, but he's super intense. But at the same time, he shows up wearing the stuff that Russell Westbrook wears. Like, there is a clearly just like an incredible confidence with the guy, and sort of just this determination to be exactly who he wants to be. And when you watch the NBA, knowing a guy like him in a different way than the rest of us do, what's that experience like? Because you know a lot of these guys like as people, not just athletes.
The biggest surprise for me, just being a fan, let's say 7 years ago when I was 19, I think.
Oh, that's depressing. That is real. I mean, that felt like shade. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I know it wasn't shade. I'm just saying it felt like shade. Like, I mean, it wasn't
Guys,
necessary.
you don't look a day over 32. Come on.
That was very kind, and also
now you're just
totally
sucking up for reasons I don't even understand. But like, okay, continue the story.
I would say the biggest thing for me, growth wise, has been giving these guys more than just a face on TV, right? Like, I was just a fan watching the games, and I would live tweet the games, and I think that's where I gained my following, and people, noticed. And I'm just very quick with it. When I watch games, I just, I get the content out, kind of like you guys do. I mean, I hope I'm like you guys one day, but
no,
I think,
old,
bald.
Smart. I would say smart and witty.
You should
and
keep your hair.
I think that I get that right sometimes. But the biggest thing for me,
thank
is,
you.
I used to, like, as a fan, there's just some guys that you watch on TV and you're like, I don't like them. Hate is a strong word, but you're like, I don't like them. I don't mess with this person. And then you meet the guys and you're like, wow, I'm actually a fan. And that happened to me with LeBron. Like, I was never really a LeBron fan. And, like, people know I'm a Kobe fan, and that Kobe, LeBron back and forth between the fans was a thing. And I was very much part of that.
What was it for, really quick, what was it for you? And the reason I ask is because obviously from covering the Lakers, this is something Brian and I, had a front row seat observing from the fan perspective. And it's interesting because I get it. Like, I get where a lot of it came from, and I get where a lot of Laker fans had resentment towards LeBron, and I understand where a lot of it did come
I'll take
from.
a bullet for him now, but
what was interesting is they never really battled for stakes. Like, a lot of this was sort of the rivalry that we wanted that never really manifested.
Yeah. I mean, I think it surprised everybody that he chose the Lakers, and just being in that position to have someone like him, who's possibly the greatest of all time, be on our team right after a few years of after Kobe, I think that meant a lot. And there's something about his aura. I think he's larger than life. Like, when he just comes in, he came into the gym or he walks into a room, and he has this ability that Kobe had. And I'm so very lucky. Like, I think about this going to bed sometimes. I look at my basketball art, I look at my Kobe art, and I'm like, I can't believe I had these moments with these guys where they both have this one quality. They will remember you. If they've met you once and you've had a conversation with them, you feel special. There's nothing I've never seen. Maybe James Harden is kind of like that. He'll remember you after a few times, and he'll be very nice. But there's something about Kobe and Bron. It's just, you feel like you belong in their aura, their bubble of greatness, and it's just, like, your heart melts. You're like, wow, like, damn, like, I love this person. You know what I mean?
That's a great name for a band, Bubble of Greatness.
I am down to form this band. But yeah, no, it's just, I think that's the biggest quality for me, and I've talked about this, from just my experience with Kobe, and obviously that was my favorite player, and kind of seeing Bron have that quality too, it means a lot to me.
I don't. This is not a criticism. You spoiled one of my questions, because I was listening to you on a different show, just to kind of learn more about you. And you told this story about, like, the first time I guess you met Kobe face to face. People don't know. One of the reasons you blew up on Twitter and social media is because you ended up with a back and forth with Kobe in part. And he followed you in part because you were in a back and forth with the other person who we know who knows literally every human being on the planet, our friend Arash Markazi, and also our friend and Ben Lyons. And Ben is there. And then, we've actually got a few of these. This is my personal favorite because two people who don't seem like they would know each other. You and John Iron. John is one of the few people in the world who's much far less hip than we are. But there you guys are. So here's the cool kids. And here's you with John.
Summer League. That was right after Braun announced that was happening. But I think it's just like, again, being a fan, and Kobe made a Twitter, and I think everyone was very surprised by that. And he said he would follow 100 fans on Twitter. And he had followed my friend already, and she said, I think he's online. He just liked something. So I was like, ooh. So I went, and I had just gotten this Mamba Nike shirt situation, and I literally took a picture of it, and I posted it, I tagged him, and I was like, Kobe, look. And I'm like, I'm like a kid at this point. And it was the first day of Passover, and everybody was home, and we're all organizing and getting ready, and I see Kobe Bryant followed me. And I think I jumped on my dad, on my mom. I just kept screaming Kobe, Kobe, Kobe around the house. And I was like, what the hell is wrong with this girl?
No, but that is traditional in most houses on the first night of Passover. Our Seder was very Kobe-centric. I totally understand. But when you said though,
I don't think I've ever been that happy in my life. And I DM'd him, and I was like, thank you so much for doing this for your fans. And he just sends me, and I didn't expect a response, but he just sends me, thanks for all the love. Love spelled L-U-V.
L-U-V.
Smiley face. And I was like, Kobe? We're best friends now. I was like, book it. Call the people. I don't know who you call, but we're best friends now.
But what I think was amazing, though, is you told the story in this about how when you actually got to meet him face to face, you're like, he's not going to remember who I am. And you said, and you actually quoted, I didn't think he would remember me. And as soon as I heard that, I said, oh, you're dead wrong. Kobe remembers everything. And that to me was one of the things that made him who he was, because that's the source of his, that's a reflection of the intellectual curiosity that he had as a person, and why he was calling Oprah and calling,
he called people up. Listen,
yeah.
I gave him, at his Tribeca Film Festival launch here, I had red carpet access, and I gave him a copy of Franchise Magazine. I was very involved with them for 2 years, just getting the brand off. And literally, I was at this gym, and any player that I have pictures of players walking around with the magazine, because that was my marketing plan. I just went in there and I was like, copies, everybody, and everyone was like, this is so different, it's so cool. Melo was like, this is the new Bible, I love this. And a lot of relationships started that way. And I gave one to Kobe. Players Tribune was there. They took a picture of him holding it in his suit, and it looks kind of like an ad. And I'm still so very proud of that moment. And I put a little card inside, and a few months later, we got his Nike people reached out to us, and they said that we want to see more. And ever since then, he's known my name, remembers me, and every time I saw him and I got that few moments with him, it really, I don't know. Again, it's that one thing that you think you might not like a player, but then you get a little bit of humility and humanity from them, and it completely changes you.
One of my favorite memories with Kobe, with social media, just because it was one of those rare times with Kobe, because Kobe was, I think it's safe to say, pretty successful at everything he attempted. The guy had a pretty strong track record at blank.
Except for that one LA Times fashion shoot. That was
the white outfit.
The white outfit. That was not
white
not
outfit
good.
Didn't quite work out. But do you remember his initial foray into Twitter, where his first tweet, where I think a lot of people when they're doing this, they don't quite understand what it is, but he just tweeted out, "Can you hear me now?" with 3 or 4 exclamation points. and
I
because
remember
because
Amnesty
it was
had all those
hilarious.
things, but I don't remember. That's so
And,
funny.
and the avatar he had, which I was so mad he got rid of this avatar because the avatar was fantastic. It was this snake eating the Twitter bird, like it was like this big black mamba eating the Twitter bird. Which I was like, oh my god, okay, he still has to figure out how to
Such a Kobe
use
thing to
Twitter.
do.
Like he
Kind of.
clearly doesn't know how to use it yet, but my god, he gets the avatar. Like he
Uh,
gets the Kobe image part of it, and then he eventually,
I
got
mean,
on
the
Twitter.
reason my at name on everything is Count on Vic because of his Nike campaign, Count on Kobe.
I didn't know that. I just thought it was because you were
I
reliable.
didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
would like to think I am. Like, it has actually, grown with me very well. Like, it's stuck, and I love when people say that, and they don't realize that it's the Kobe thing. But yeah, it's all because of Kobe. He had that huge Nike campaign with hashtag Count on Kobe, and that was a whole thing. So I was like,
So
Vic, and here we are.
one of the, and I want we definitely wanted to save time and talk a little WNBA and your podcast
Yes.
there that you're working in a second, which looks
Yes.
like I'm so proud of myself that I can do pictures. I just keep doing it. So
Yay!
there it is. There's that. It's T with A and Fee, and we'll talk about that in a
Yes,
second.
it's Asia Wilson and Nafisa. I love both of them.
And I listened to it. They have great chemistry together. It's really fun. But like, there is a skill, and this is something like Andy and I have done reasonably well in what we do here in the world that we're in. There is a skill in connecting people and connecting to people that we're kind of good at, but we're not great. Like, Kobe remembers everything, everyone. I do not. I do not remember everyone. I do not remember everything. I do not have the sort of conscientiousness to show up at places where these people will be. There's an art to this. And so what do you think that is? Like, to be a real connector of people and a connector to people, what goes into that? Because you are obviously very good at it.
Thank you. I think everybody learns along with the process, and I think I've made mistakes and I've learned a lot. I think the biggest thing for me that my friends at least tell me and people that know me tell me is I'm not scared like to shoot my shot, whether it's reaching out or it's a request or it's something that is going to benefit both of these people involved. I'm not like, there's people that are very, ooh, should we do this? Like, how do you think we should approach this? I just pick up the phone, and I've learned to do that. And sometimes like people will be a little shocked by that. Like, oh, she's just calling us. And then they'll listen to me and they'll be like, oh, this is amazing. Yes. I've never had someone feel some type of way about me going and doing that, and I think that's one thing. I think also, I'd like to think I'm a perceptive person and I'm social, I'm outgoing, and that's a big part of it. Like, I like being in these settings. There's people that shy away from it. They don't really like it. They just want to do their job and get out. I'll be at games 2 hours before and 2 hours after because it's just what the game is, right? But, there's people that work in that space. They're just like, oh, we're just here. Like, we just want to go home,
Do you
and
remember?
I thankfully don't have like any barriers. Like, I can just go the full 6 hours.
Do you remember either, if not the moment, like an early moment where you just sort of recognize, you know what, I can just call these people, or like I like there's no harm to actually just reaching out to this person who seems like they'd be otherwise, untouchable, or other people would be intimidated to do it.
Yeah, I think I had a few brands reach out to me about certain things, and they just reached out over Instagram DM. I had a player reach out to me once. Oh, we heard from this other player that what's good in New York. Can we work together? And that was over DM. This is someone I've never met before. I wasn't even following this player, and I said, okay, so if that's not an issue, who am I to stop myself from doing the same thing? I've had crazy things happen to me over just a DM. Like, people won't find my email, or people sometimes are, dumb, and they don't see the email in the bio right there. But they'll DM me and they'll be like, hey, can we email you? We have this new thing that we want to do. We want you involved. But I think it's just the climate, right? Like things are different now, and you can build up a little bit of your own brand. Not that I'm super uber famous or anything, but there's so many people that reach out to me and ask me, how do you do what you do? And I always tell them, like, there's no timeline, rules. There's nothing to this. Like, my lane is my own. I can't do what you do, and you can't necessarily do what I do. And I think everyone is different, and that's why, like, people see the highlights that I show of the access I get. There's a lot more to that. Like, I don't really sleep more than 3-4 hours a day. Like, people, my friends don't. I'm up at all times. I get calls from LA late night. Like,
Right. I mean, you're on this show right now. It's
right.
almost
I'm with you guys.
right. It's
Like,
almost 2 in the morning.
it's tough, and like when you have like I'm doing a 2K launch. You got to do a dinner after, and then you got to make sure that if these guys want to go out, they want to go out, or whatever they want to do. Like, I'm usually throughout the day, at all these, like, it's exhausting. It's really it takes a lot out of you, and you don't really feel like, sometimes you feel like you've lost yourself a little bit. And I've had this conversation with people that move to New York, and go through the same thing, kind of, and you try to keep yourself grounded. And I leave a little early now, and I talk to a little less people now. Like, everything used to be more exciting and vibrant, but people see the glitz and glam, and they don't really, like, ooh, you're at the NBA awards on the red carpet, like, Jeannie's there, like, it's a whole thing. And I'm like, yeah, it's great, I love it, I'm so very lucky, but there's a lot of work that goes into this that people don't really realize.
Anything becomes a job after a while. Like, I don't care what your job is. I don't care how much you love it. I don't care how incredible or unique or special the job is. It's a job. There's no such thing as a job that doesn't become that.
Basketball is so fun to watch. I consume any and all games. I'll watch the Pistons and Wizards. I don't care. I love it. But yeah, there are days where it's daunting a little bit, and there are days where it's hard. It's hard to, like, oh, I got to go to the arena. I got to go to the game, and that's such a crazy thought to have, because 5 years ago, like,
oh. No, but like, but I've had that. Like, don't be like, you're walking around. It's like, oh, I don't want to be at it's Lakers, right. It's Timberwolves. It's like Wednesday.
Games when you're there live anymore, because I feel like that's work for me too now. Like, I gotta work the room. I gotta work the arena.
Yes, I do. I do, but it's day. I don't enjoy sports in the same way that I used to, because now I think about storylines. I don't really care about who wins and loses, and sometimes it's just fun. Like, you get moments like Kobe's 60-point game. Some of these other games that just pull you into, like, that's just amazing. Like, you realize there are times when you're at these things that are amazing.
Being fans, like when like there's a slam dunk or a big shot, do you guys find yourself, like, I know media is not supposed to show any type of emotion when you're sitting there, but do you guys find yourselves, like, get a little hype? Because when the Lakers are here, I always have amazing seats now, thank God, and I fangirl for my team. Like,
it's a weird thing for me, because I'm a Laker fan in real life, and I was a Laker fan well before I started doing this.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that always wants them to win everything, because I've just been hardwired for that. Like, I'm hardwired to want success for the Lakers. But that being said, I've also trained myself to see the Lakers for what they are in a particular season. And at times that's been championship contender. At times that's been 27 wins. And, you become trained to try to do the job that we have, which is to tell the story of the Lakers that particular year, and try to do it in ways that are smart or funny or different or whatever. But what I don't think people want from us in particular is to fanboy our coverage. And, there are Lakers sites that do fanboy their coverage, and some of them, by the way, do it really well. Like, I'm not saying that as a pejorative. They're, like
stuff Lakers from this guy.
Like Laker Nation, for example. Like, I mean, they're clearly a hyper-partisan site. They do it well, though. Like, their coverage is good.
That's their lane. You talk about it knowing their lane.
That they got, they got bought out by one of the biggest names like years
Yeah,
ago.
Oh yeah.
I know
exactly.
the
No,
guys
I
who
mean,
started it like
you
2010. Who
exactly. I
went
mean,
to States.
we've done some work for him in the past. I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with fanboying it because you can do smart fanboy just like you can do dumb journalism. Like, both of those things exist. I'm just saying I don't think that's what the people that come to us for coverage of the Lakers want. I think they specifically don't want that from us. So, there's sort of two sides of my brain when I watch a Laker game. There's a part of me that, gets hyped for them winning, and then there's the part of me that has to remind myself I'm not here to get hyped for it. You know what I mean? Like that at the end of the day, like
See, with
that's
me,
not
I
specifically
get what
what
you
I'm
guys
there
are
for.
saying. It's just so funny because, like, with me, like, when I work with a guy, like, I want them to do well. So, you know, at any
But
given
that's
time,
what I was asking you why like the
yeah,
experience
it's
of
a little
watching
hard.
games for
It's a
you
little
must be
hard because,
weird.
like, obviously, like, I know all the guys on the Nets. I'm at Nets games all the time, and I'll be there, and it's like, Aaron had an amazing game against them in February. He was here. He dropped 27. He had like 3 threes in a row. I was like, what the hell is it? I'm like, Aaron, he had an amazing stretch there, and I was baseline like, let's go, Aaron, and it's a little awkward because like, oh, hi Spencer, hi Karis, like, okay guys, good job, like when the guys, like, you want everyone to do well, so it's a little like, how do you handle
But I don't
yourself?
think there's anything wrong with that. I
No.
mean, the young core of the Lakers that they've pretty much all been traded, but Kuzma. I've been very open about how there was a part of me that, as much as obviously you bring in LeBron, and obviously if you can bring in Anthony Davis, you trade these guys. I mean, like, the object is to put yourself in championship
But we all want
contention.
to see
That's
Zoe
a
and Brandon and all those guys.
there is a part of me that
Mm-hmm.
wants to see the Earth 2 version of the Lakers where the young core of, it's not going to be all of them because that's just the way the world works, but like Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle, Lonzo Ball,
D'Angelo Russell,
Kuz,
D'Lo,
Josh Hart.
D'Lo is my
Right.
Like
heart.
a
I want
big
the kids
chunk
to
of
do so
them.
well. Yeah.
There's a part of me that wants to see what that would have looked like with the Lakers because I found them a really likable group. Like, I really liked them. They were enjoyable to watch together, but also too, there's something different about watching a crew grow from the ground up and like grow together as young players. And yeah, that's not as good of a formula in terms of playing the odds with winning a championship, and the goal is to win the championship. But seeing a group like that have success, even if it wasn't championship level, but if it was legit success, that to me would have been in some ways more satisfying than watching a Laker championship. It's
Right.
different. And again, I want the championship. Lakers made the right moves, but there was a part of me that didn't want to see that group broken up because I did kind
I
of,
think we all
I
felt
rooted
that
for their
way. The
success.
kids are gone, and everyone kind of took a moment. They're like sad about it. And that's the tough part about winning and winning now, right? I think there's like, you make those sacrifices, but I would have loved to if we could have kept D'Angelo. Like, I love D'Lo so much. I love it when he was here, and I got to know him and his family, and he's such a special human being, and he works so hard, and what he did here with the Nets, like, he brought so much hype to a team that no one really cared about, and seeing that, it just kind of like, there's something about it that bothers you because you're like, damn, like, we could have seen this with the Lakers, maybe, possibly. So
You get a feel for too, like people like make memes out of these guys, and D'Angelo, you can go back and relitigate the Nick Young thing. Andy and I like to remind people that
there's a lot
Nick,
about that
right,
people don't know.
right, but like we could also
But
just
jokes are
the-
gonna run. It is what it is.
Nick had some culpability here too, but like you can go relitigate, but like guys become memes, and I don't think people understand how hard they have to work to be in the league, to be an all-star, to be almost an all-star, to be the 14th guy on a roster. These guys put so much into it. And it's just stuff that I don't think people understand how seriously these guys take what they do.
They don't, and they won't, because when they see them get one tweet out or a post out a day. Oh, this is what you're doing. You're not in the gym right now. Go work on whatever you need to work on, bro. Like, what you doing? Like, come on. Like, all these guys are doing what they need to be doing.
Yes.
There's always going to be distractions. There were distractions 20 years ago. You just didn't hear about it until, Scott Burrell got drunk and got on that stupid thing, Like, it is what it is. Like, it's always been there. It's just you see it more now, and some people feel like fans feel some type of way about these guys trying to build their brands, and it just like what are you thinking? Like, these are guys that you love, that you support, and it's not just basketball. It's not just about that, And I just think it's funny every time because guys are like, oh, I can beat you, I can be better than you, but people don't realize.
Oh, shut up! You can't. Yeah.
That a 57-year-old version of Carmelo Anthony will
annihilate you.
Our boy Ben Lyons is convinced still to this day that he could take Marcelo Huertas. I mean, like, he absolutely to this day is convinced. At the very least, he's convinced that Huertas can't guard him. I mean, we've had this conversation
Pablo
many
Prigioni?
times.
What about oh my God?
I think Ben has too much respect for that Knick goat to talk about him like that. I mean, Prigioni is one of the all-time great Knicks.
What about Pablo Prigioni? What about Novak? Can we talk about
Steve Novak? Ben actually might be able to guard Steve Novak. Novak guarding him was pretty much just staying at the 3-point line. Like, I think I saw him dribble. He could shoot, but I mean, I think I saw Novak dribble like 3 times in his entire career. Like, I mean, you just have to kind of keep
what was the Clay game where he had, I forget the exact, like, it was
Clay
one of the ones where,
dribble either.
but there was that game where he had, I forget if it was like 74 threes or like 52 points or whatever, but it was like 58 points and like 9 dribbles. It was some like amazing point to dribble ratio.
See, that's one guy I don't know like that, and I just want to be friends with Clay. I just want to chill with Clay.
Oh.
Just let's get some drinks and read books.
Specifically with China.
Like, that's all I wanted. Like, yeah. Clay is such an interesting human being. I feel like that's what I've heard from so many people. I just want to experience that a little bit. Just like, let's be friends, Clay. Like, let's just,
Well, Michael,
I don't even know what this guy's
father,
into like that.
His father is one of, Andy, would you say, the 5 most interesting human beings on the planet? So if Clay's got even a touch of that.
Absolutely. Former Laker. Shout out MP.
Hey, we got to make sure. Yeah, go ahead. Andy, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, we got to make sure we get to Tea with A and Fee,
yes.
the new podcast.
Oh, my God. Okay, so I have the privilege to help out a little bit with this amazing podcast content we're bringing out to the masses. I think the WNBA is so important. Like my friend Ari says, over at Bleacher Report, she handles all the W stuff, but these ladies are amazing, and I think they deserve a voice, and they are so interesting together. And it's just 30 minutes, and I feel like it might have to be a little longer, but it's going to be a weekly episodes. Tea with A and Fee at WNBAT on Twitter and Instagram, and there's going to be guests. This first week was just the girls alone, talking a little bit about how they met and how they became friends. And rookie of the year, respectively, those ladies are right up there. So they're talking a little bit about their picks and things of that nature. So yeah, I think listen, the way it's being received so far today is just it's been incredible. I think it's really, really special.
We spent a lot of time talking about racial justice and what these guys are doing down in the bubble in Orlando and stuff like that. It is always worth, whenever you talk about what guys in the NBA are doing, pointing out that they do not F around in the WNBA. And all of these things that the guys are doing right now, they've been doing in the WNBA, the women have been doing for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
And at greater risk to themselves because they don't make the kind of money. They don't have the kind of job security and bankroll that the guys do. And so it's important.
That's what was astonishing. That's what was, like, both commendable and a little bit astonishing to me. Today that news broke that Kyrie Irving is helping out with WNBA players who decided.
I never want to hear any bad word about Kyrie Irving ever again.
Well, what's crazy about it is that he's donating $1.5 million to help supplement the income of these players who decided not to enter the bubble in Bradenton, whether because of coronavirus concerns or because they wanted to really try to seize on this moment with all the awareness on social justice. But that 1.5 million is enough to cover a lot of this for WNBA players because the salary discrepancies are they're so wide. Like, 1.5 million wouldn't do anything in the NBA at all.
One might even spend that in Magic City one night.
It's possible that Lou bought $1.5 million worth of lemon pepper flats.
That's how you get one named after you.
But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think as someone that has consumed so much NBA throughout, my life, I am just now in the last 3 to 4 years really getting into the W stuff and watching the ladies more and supporting that as much as I can. I think, they're just as special. They're just as talented. They work just as hard, if not harder, especially being a woman. Like, it's absolutely magnificent when you see them in the W bubble with their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are mothers, you know what I mean? It's just so it's a beautiful sight, and I think what Kyrie's doing is amazing, and it's just speaking out is really hard. Like, these women have been through a lot, just in their personal lives with their careers, and they travel, and a lot of these women play overseas in the off season, which I think is so hard in of itself. So again, as if I can support, if all of us can support a little bit in any way, I'm here to do that. If I have to tell people to shut up on social media because they say that nobody watches the WNBA, that's absolutely a lie. I think the numbers are going up, and it's great to see. And like, there's kids, like my brother is 10 and he loves the NBA, and now he has he's like, ooh, I don't know who my favorite WNBA player is yet, but he's thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's getting into that.
That's cool.
I think it's very important. I played basketball and tennis when I was little, and I would have loved to see a woman play. Like, I never had that. I grew up in the Middle East. I grew up in Israel, and I didn't really experience that ever. So I think it's just something.
Could you guard Ben Lyons?
Huh?
Yes.
Could you guard Ben Lyons?
Bet I can guard him now.
That's an easy one. Oh, he's all hype, all talk. That one.
Oh, Ben, I love Ben. Love Ben to death. Ben's my big friend.
He's the best. Ben's our guy.
Yeah, I was so funny. I was like, I tuned into this podcast, and it's all like you guys spend the first 10 minutes talking about him. Like, what? It's this is like Ben's greatest day ever.
He weasels himself in every time with everything.
It's irritating.
Can't do anything with this guy.
All right, so we can't let you go without getting a little bit of give you an opportunity to explain to everyone why the Lakers are going to win their 17th title this year, because surely you believe that they will.
Oh, absolutely. Number one, LeBron James. No, I'm just kidding. LeBron James. Anthony Davis. I think it's very evident, and if you haven't noticed yet, the camaraderie it's been taken to a whole other level. Like, these guys don't even need fans in the arena right now in there, because they're each other's fans. Like, they pull each other up. Like, you can really tell. And they're having so much fun. And I think, Rachel said this, and Taylor said this, and the media ladies that are in there are saying this, that they're up there, the team that has the most fun. And I think, with pieces like J.R. Smith and Dion Waiters, I don't know if people caught the game today, but, the big names didn't play, but those guys absolutely closed that game out for us.
Yeah, they did.
I just think there's some element of electricity that's going through with the whole team, and you love to see it. But, the other thing I will say is these guys worked, and I know this from my sources and my people, they all went in hard the last 4 months. when basketball wasn't happening, it was happening for my guys. So I'll just say that we're ready to go.
I think
George was good.
like the
No,
bubble is weird. The bubble is a weird place. It's a strange thing, but it actually sets up really well. LeBron doesn't have to travel, so he can throw all of that time back into his body. He doesn't have to get on airplanes and land places. And then Vogel said this today. Guys like Kuzma, Caruso, who you really need to give good minutes,
yeah,
aren't going to have to deal with like the hostile crowd on the road in the playoffs. They're not going to have to deal with the super hyped up home crowd. You know, like
I was going to say, but
that.
also too, in particular, like the home versus road thing can really affect reserves, much less reserves who aren't experienced in the playoffs. So yeah,
it should be easier for them to be good this year. So it actually, I mean, like the Lakers, the bubble favors the Lakers more than it does, and they don't need home court. They don't care about home court. What does LeBron need home court
listen,
for?
They love the Laker fans. I mean, there's there's no atmosphere, like you guys know this better than I do probably. Like there's nothing like it. A playoff game, final game at Staples Center is very powerful. It's an experience, right?
Yes, it is.
But yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think, when we visit, other crowds and other fan bases go super extra hard when it's us, right? It's just like beat LA is the chant, and I do not believe they're speaking of the Clippers. But
one more shot, just
add them up. Just add them up.
Bam, bam, bam.
That horse is dead, but there's no reason I can't kick it one more time.
No, but I think you're right on that end. Obviously we won't get the heat that we usually do. But no, the guys love our support, and I know it means a lot hearing those chants, but
the Bucks need the home crowd more than the Lakers do. Is all I mean. Like the Nuggets need it more than the Lakers.
Listen, it's anybody's arena right now. And I think just because of how these guys are with each other, the team chemistry, I think it's at such a high level that the fans, that's not a factor right now. It's not like, I'm sure they'll say like we wish we had our fans, and I know they would love that, but
they have work to do.
Laser focus, yes.
Yeah, and just a reminder, Paul George, he knows what he did. Did the wrong thing.
You know what you did, Paul. You know what pissed me off? It wasn't even Paul. It wasn't him necessarily. It was more the whole let's do a 3-part ESPN thing about this. Let's bring up an old tweet where I said, Lakers and Clippers both are, a thing. But whatever, that's over now. I wish him all the best. I hope it's Lakers Clippers at some point.
Oh God, we all do.
2020 owes us that.
Yes, I think 2020 owes us some type of solid.
One little thing.
One thing.
Like what's crazy too. I mean, really quick is we're gonna be out in a sec, but like when this period of like not just Laker history but NBA history is eventually retold, Paul George is going to be like one of the top 5, maybe top 3 most pivotal people in that entire history. Like the amount of different franchises that he ended up influencing. The Lakers, the Thunder, the Clippers, and Paul George influenced free agency for a bunch of different organizations 2 or 3 years ago. And he's always been, top 10, top 15 at the lowest, 4 or 5 years ago player. He's always been I think
he's one of the best two-way players in the league.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. But like he really is going to be, when we open up these history books eventually, he's going to be one of the most pivotal players, like even more pivotal than some players that are more accomplished than him.
Yeah. No,
it's going to be pretty crazy.
It's a good point. Listen, I would love to see him win at some point, right? He's just one of those players that you want to see win once. Like, at least on my end, like, I feel that way with Melo. I feel that way with Dame. Like, I want to see all these guys get one, regardless.
I really want Dame to win one.
I would like to.
I really want Dame. Come on. Like, I just love those guys. I want Melo to get one. Whatever way that has to happen, I want him to have that ring. But, it's with Paul, I think also he influenced the Rockets in a way.
Mm-hmm.
With Russ,
totally.
Russ ending up there, and Russ is playing like, I don't know if people remember, but the season before we shut down, Russ was having himself a season. I mean, Russ been
Yes, he
having
was.
himself seasons, but it's just, that they're winning now. And everyone said, I think the only person like that caliber type player that James Harden respects to a whole other level, I think that's Russ. I think Russ just knows him so well. Like, he can't say nothing.
They go back a long way. It helps
that
they go back a long way.
Yeah, like as much as as Chris Paul is one of the best point guards ever, and I think the talent is there and he's so well respected, but I think with Russ it's a whole other dynamic.
Well, people got so wrapped up in the KD Russ dynamic that they forget, like, Russ's teammates swear by him, like they love him.
Oh yeah, I mean,
yeah,
Kevin swore by him too. Kevin always said, like, this is the heart of our team. When people wanted to say, oh, Russ should have passed to Kevin, and that whole conversation that was just ongoing, Russ is the heart. Anywhere he goes, he's the heart of whatever he's involved in. So it's just it's the character thing, and the more you get to know them, the more we see that, and so very lucky.
Well, there's as you may be able to see, very many things that we did not get to on my list.
Oh, no. Can I come back tomorrow? I'll do it.
Well, we might need you later in the week, so be careful.
We'll see. We'll see.
Right.
We'll keep it open for the week.
I have
Okay.
no things to do. I'm not getting wings anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. So.
Okay. Well, we will keep you on speed dial.
What you wish for. Now we're close enough now that we can just call you Vic. We don't need to add the whole Toria thing. We're on shortened names basis now. Make sure you check out A Tea with A and Fee, the podcast, which you can find all where you find your great podcasts. Count on Vic on all the important social areas is where they find you. And thank you so much for staying up late. This was
great.
fun.
We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Literally anytime. Just let me know.
Awesome.
All
Thanks a lot.
Thank you guys.
Tomorrow, Darius Soriano, foreign blue and gold. Talk a lot of Lakers.
Oh, I love him.
Yep, a lot of Lakers, a lot of NBA.
Awesome.
All right, well, then you'll be watching.
Time.
Okay. Very good.
All right.
You're not kidding. You are up late.
Cool.
All right. Thanks.